Thanks for coming back for another session with us. If you didn't join us the first time, we hosted the first Black Men in Cyber panel discussion 2 weeks ago, and that went so well. We figured why not do it again, right? And the premise for this, really came about from there's a decent number of us. Well, technically, there's only like 3 or 4% of us African Americans in cybersecurity, but within that subset, there are a decent amount of individuals that are beginning to find themselves through Blacks in Cyber and through other outlets. And, a lot of the questions we've received is, how do we create a community or create a mechanism so everyone can, all the different individuals can speak to each other, but specifically, how other Black men within cyber can, meet, network, and kind of learn from other individuals, right? So putting together the panel conversations was definitely a way to kind of meld this together. So, we think of this as really just one big community with, multiple individuals just in different parts, I almost say different parts of the country, but different parts of the world, really. Like the BIC has grown to chapters across, definitely across Africa too. So, which is amazing to see. So we're gonna go ahead and kick things off right now. What we'd like to do is try to give everyone to introduce themselves. I'll start with myself. I'm O'Shea Bowens, the Director of Training for Blacks in Cyber. Also helping organize this today is Garrison. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey everyone, Garrison Best, cybersecurity consultant, based in the DMV area. I'm glad for everybody to join. It's gonna be a good event.
Okay. And we'll go ahead and let the panel run down. So we'll start with Paul.
Hey everybody, happy to be here. Thanks for the invite. Always good to collaborate with BIC. My name is Paul Oyelakin. I'm owner of pjcourses.com and PJ Professional IT Services. And yeah, looking forward to having some good discussion with you all.
Yeah, thanks for coming. JR, man.
Hey, how's it doing, everyone? My name is JR Prez. Currently, I am the SOAR automation engineer for U.S. Census 2020. Glad to be here.
Cool. Mr. Estes.
Hi, all. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this this event. My name is Esteve Mede. I am a principal at End-to-End Computing. We provide cybersecurity, DevOps services to federal government and state governments. Looking forward to collaborations and the discussions we're about to have.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Let's see, who else do we have there? We have Mr. Ross.
Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Ross. I'm currently a lead engineer or red team lead engineer at a Fortune 100 company. I'm excited to be here with you all and look forward to the discussion.
Awesome. And I believe our last guest, Mr. Cyberoracle.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Damilai Lawal, cyberoracle. Presently, I'm the international coordinator for Africa for BIC. I also been in cybersecurity for a while, but I just take it so seriously now. I'm a political scientist with a background in international development and African development as well. So right now, my responsibility is to mobilize more people, professionals, experts, and career changers to the field of cybersecurity via BIC. It's nice being with you today.
Thank you. And Adam. Is Adam on? I think you might be muted, Adam. Okay, we'll go ahead and keep it moving then. So not too dissimilar from what we ran the first time, right? So essentially the format, we have a few questions that were pre-drafted and that were shared with the panelists. What we'll do is try to get some feedback, keep the conversation going. Again, this should be something that's definitely free-flowing. We want you to really be your true selves, right? There are other individuals, especially some of you guys that have been in security for a while, that can definitely kind of act as a lead or kind of a shining example to some of the other up-and-comers within BIC, and this is being recorded, so it'll be shared out across the world. So who knows who may reach out to you. So definitely feel free to just allude upon your background and your experience. One of the first questions I actually have is out of the panelists here, like if we had to divide it up, who would define themselves as red team versus red team or blue team?
I've done both, so I don't know if you have a vote for both.
Yeah, that's purple. We can go purple. so cool. So that's gonna come in handy. It's definitely gonna come in handy. But being that you have done both, right? Out of those two, what drew you to one or the other? So what you see a lot in individuals that are entering the field is really the choice between what's sexy, right? And what's sexy is the offensive side of security going into pen testing, and then I guess if one thing is sexy, the thing that's unsexy is essentially the C&D side of things, or computer network and defense. So what drew you to either one of those? And I'd definitely love to hear from a couple of different panelists in regards to where they sit, because this is going to kind of play into the theme later.
Yeah, I gotta say Hollywood drew me into red team on the pen test side, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? That's what's glamorized in the media right now. The defensive guy, the one that can hack into it while the guy's jumping in the elevator and all of that. So, and then you learn that it's not really quite like that, right? But it's still fun and exciting. So that's what drew me on the pen testing side of things. On the defensive side, I'd say stability, right? Career-wise, right? You can get, this way. I feel like there's far more jobs doing security engineering, as I call it, doing security engineering work versus being a pen tester. Pen testers, you kind of, maybe this doesn't apply to all, but for the most part, you kind of hop places, right? Doing your pen test work, or your bug bounty hunter, and you could work for a month, and if you don't hack it, you don't get paid. So I say stability on the defense side.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely more jobs in defense.
Can piggyback off what Paul was saying. What kind of drew me to the offensive side? Same thing, like just outside influences like movies and television. Always seeing like the cool guy hacking and breaking into stuff. So that kind of what drew me towards it. I would say early on in my career, that was the thing I wanted to do. I didn't really care about defense and detection. But as I grew into my role and working with others, I learned to actually care and appreciate the detection side. It kind of feeds each other. Like when you have detections that you come up with for a new technique that you may release, it causes you to think about, well, how can I get past this new detection I wrote? What's a way where I can circumvent it, or how can I improve this detection to cover all the bases, so to speak? And it also helps out the blue teamers overall, because they have a tough job. They have to basically be perfect and cover all the bases all the time. So why not offer a lending hand and build detections for your new offensive tools or techniques that you come up with?
Yeah, that's an awesome answer, man. I appreciate it. And so we're definitely gonna switch gears back to the blue team in a little bit later. So one of the questions that I definitely want to hear, and this one we can go around the whole table, right? I'd love to hear from each panelist on this one. What was kind of your entry into the security world, right? What we know what drew you towards the offense or the defensive side, but what was it in life, or what was the kind of like driving force to say, okay, I think I'm going to move into security, right? And that's part one. And part two is, what recommendations or what type of advice would you give individuals that are looking to move directly into the field? We can start, Estes.
As you said, you said me, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. For me, I take the first course I took in college on cybersecurity. That was it for me. When I decided that that's the path I wanted to go down. For me, I always wanted to play cornerback and football. So being in the blue team, that was my thing. It's like, okay, I won't let you catch the ball. And that's the way I always look at it. I won't let you catch the ball. I'm not gonna let the receiver or the offensive players catch the ball. So for me, that was the case. Being part of the defensive side is basically to implement a program, implement port controls in place where it would be extremely difficult or almost impossible for you to be able to get in.
Okay. Let's see, JR.
Yeah, for me, it was actually kind of by accident, right? It's like my dad was big into computers. I've always built computers with him, built 386s and whatnot. But when I went to the military, I ended up being missile defense, and missile defense systems all ran Solaris. So that worked out really good for me transitioning out. But I'll kind of get into that later because we have more talks about that.
And Paul.
Advice for folks trying to get in?
Yeah, what drew, so it's two-part, right? So what drew you into the field?
Right.
Whether that was a person or maybe like someone just mentioned, a course in college, right?
Yeah.
And then, part two, what advice do you have for individuals that are looking to enter the field?
So I graduated my bachelor's with a degree in neurobiology and physiology. Right, that was pre-med. No offense to all my African parents out there, but any first generation would tell you, you got two choices. You want to be a doctor or you want to be a lawyer, right? There's nothing else. I see my man agreeing with me over there, right? It was kind of what you grew up thinking, right? And I used that degree to bartend for many years. And then I knew I wanted to get into IT. I wasn't sure which genre. And UMUC, now called UMGC now, they had this commercial cybersecurity, and that's when cyber was just coming out. So I was basically the second semester, the second class that they brought in to their cybersecurity program at that school, and it's been smooth sailing ever since in the field of cybersecurity. For someone that's trying to get into the field, I say get my book. Where is that? So I've got a book here. Shameless plug-in, right? How to become a cybersecurity analyst. I strongly recommend it. I mean, for one, I wrote it, so I know it's pretty cool. It's a pretty awesome book. But seriously, it teaches beginners how to get into the field of cybersecurity, having no knowledge, no expertise. This book, people have actually came to me and said they got jobs off of reading this. But you want to learn. You want to be good at two tools. You want to master two tools very well, and then you want to know maybe two more tools efficiently. And I always recommend also learning cybersecurity compliance as well, because compliance gives you a broad knowledge of things, right? Different areas, so you don't get caught off guard. So I say master two tools very well on an enterprise level, right? It's not something that's very expensive to make. Make yourself a lab, decentralized account management. That's pretty much enterprise level, and focus on how to use those two tools on the enterprise level and learn compliance work. And just go out there, man. Look around you. There are businesses right now that can't afford cybersecurity services. So even if you can't afford programs like the ones that we offer here, if you're a go-getter, you can go out there. You can find somebody to give you a chance on anything based on the skills that you learn, and you'll be okay from there. So think outside the box.
Awesome. Adam?
Adam, you're on mute.
Okay, we'll move to, we'll come back to Adam. cyberoracle.
Yeah, first of all, I'm a political scientist and I've done a lot of work around elections and several other things. So there was a time in 2014-15 where there was a political party in Nigeria that hacked into the system of another political party. So I started thinking at that time, okay, how can we be able to actually try to make sure that the electoral process is not compromised? So I was thinking in my head around that time, okay, if you want to understand this, you need to get in cybersecurity. Then later, I also, the popular 2016 election in the US where the Russian hacking and everything. So I decided that, okay, if I actually want to understand the basis of why all these things are happening and how to, prevent it and detect as well, I actually need to go into cybersecurity. Then I was trying to develop a political theory within my line in international relations. So I realized that, okay, for you to be able to be a master in this field, you need to study, because there's a popular saying that says, it is absolutely immoral for a man who does not understand medicine to say he wants to cure the sick. how much more absurd and immoral for a man who does not understand the causes of social ills and he says he wants to heal them. So, and for me, so I opted out of my master's program in international relations and globalization, international development and globalization, to register for a cybersecurity class in Detroit, Wayne County Community College. So, however, as I was going, I realized that this thing is becoming too hard for me, maybe because it's a different field entirely. But I sat back, I'm like, okay, if you really want to know this thing, the best thing is to give it your time, your attention, have a mental balanced state whereby you'll be able to understand. Then later I understand that this thing is becoming more interesting. So what the advice I'm going to give to everybody coming in is that cybersecurity is one of the easiest and one of the most exciting, beautiful field. At times it may be hard in the first place when you're trying to play around and study, but it's easier, particularly with big. We have beautiful people like you there, like Paul, you know, I've spoken with him some times ago, and I've also seen his book. I'm even going to get that book as well. And very soon, I'm probably going to write my first Security Plus exam very soon. I've studied a lot of different aspects. Then I also want to give kudos to people like Katia for helping in, you know, navigating people about how to break into the path and be able to know the best path for you in cybersecurity. So for me, I want to believe it's not as hard as people believe it is. It's always about interest. And when you have good people around you that are ready to show you the way. So, and there are beautiful people out there like AJ, John, AY John or something, yeah, and everybody in the big community. So that's what I have to say about that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know, that's awesome. We're going to have to circle back to some of your answers there. Adam?
Yeah, sure. And O'Shea, you can hear me?
Yeah, you're good to go, man.
All right, great. I apologize about the audio. Adam Bowser, the director of IT. I work for a company that deals more with digital media and IoT devices. And really, I came into cybersecurity probably, I assume some ways that other people did, where I was kind of forced into it, where you really begin understanding more about and dealing with the front line of IT devices, and dealing with having to defend devices against malicious attacks, because they operate on different scales within enterprise and within medium to small business, right? You see a ton of malicious activity within medium to small business because there's a lot of opportunity there because of lack of security. So that's really where I came into realizing and recognizing where I needed to step in and learn about cybersecurity and develop my own skill set. And so for anybody stepping into it, I would say, as some of my cohorts here have mentioned, it's not as complicated and as scary, I think, as some people would make it out to be. There's a lot of disciplines within cybersecurity where you can begin to feel comfortable and bring in your own expertise. For one, I think where I really stepped into was risk analysis, and that really relied a lot on business sense and overall IT operations. And that's where I felt like I really, really stepped in and really looking to defend, some of our clients and some of our internal operational systems and IoT devices specifically, which, as we know, are some of the most vulnerable out there. So, do your homework and put together your own lab and start to fiddle around and learn about some of the systems that you're looking to defend, or if you're a red team, if you're looking to develop some attack methodology in order to develop better defenses. Yeah, that's where I'd start from. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah. So I know we got about 30 minutes left. So what I'll do, the next couple of questions, we'll try to get like 1 or 2 answers in, and then we'll move on so we can hit each different panelist with a couple of different questions. And Paul, you actually just mentioned this a second ago from a skill set perspective. We can have 2 volunteers here, but essentially, I'm sorry, Adam, you mentioned this, but from the skill set side, what is something that you think is kind of critical to move into security, right? And this doesn't have to be from a technical perspective. You don't have to be a great reverse engineer, or you don't need to know, you don't need to know Go or C. It helps tremendously, but what are kind of 1 or 2 skills you think are essential to building out a career within cyber? We'll go back to Adam just because he actually kind of alluded to that question.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think one of the biggest skill sets is developing a business sense because once you start having that conversation with your leadership, the people that control budgets and you're going to need to present a use case for investing in cybersecurity, you need to be able to show the value of investing in cybersecurity very, very quickly. That'll present, an opportunity to be able to, create tools, invest in systems, invest in personnel, skill sets, whatever it is, to be able to defend and invest in cybersecurity and put in cybersecurity tools within your organization. So that's one. I'm not saying that's the most important, but I'm saying that's one really important skill set, I think, to look into.
Yeah, I totally agree. We'll hear from JR.
Yeah, I would say another thing that's really big in this field to be successful is you got to be curious. You want to be someone that can be self-motivated and learn, because like it's like you're always in school when you're in this kind of field. You're never really done.
True. Yeah. Continuous learning is always important. So another question is, and we'll give like one or two individuals if you want to add on to someone else's answer. That's totally open. But as you know, as a person of color or a Black man in cyber, and if this doesn't apply to you, feel free to bump the question. But what are the barriers, or what do the barriers look like that you felt you faced in progressing your career forward, right? So this could be, from college all the way up, right? If it doesn't apply to you, totally fine. But if it does, I'd definitely love to hear that. I think the audience would definitely love to hear, a 1 or 2 minute kind of excerpt on that. Anyone can feel free to answer on this one.
I'll take it. Or I'm sorry, Christopher, did you want to go? Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
You go ahead.
So I think the sink or swim culture is very prevalent. Is that the word? Prevalent in the IT industry, where you come into a situation and not only do you not know what the configuration work is or the technical work is, you don't even know what your objective is, and you're kind of forced to go out there, and it's a sink or swim mentality. And, and I completely agree with Adam in regards to the skill sets that you need. Great point there. But one of the other things that you need to have is critical thinking skills, right? You've got to be a really good critical thinker. That's a skill that I've always taken for granted. And I've realized that not everybody have that skill set. So if you're not a good critical thinker, I strongly recommend that you get a good book that will teach you critical thinking. Basically, and what it boils down to is, can you ask the right questions, right, in order to get to where you need to get to?
And just do you feel like that's like a barrier, or was that more along the lines of like skill set?
Oh, and the sink or swim mentality, right? The sink or swim culture, right? So when you're faced with that and you're looking around and you just feel like nobody's going to throw your lifeboat, you've got to pull yourself up, right? And you've got to not give people an excuse to fail. I've gone into situations where I'm like, okay, this is a setup. This is definitely, I've gone to situations where I've walked in the situation, and I kid you not, fresh out of master's degree, 5 people on their way out. I'm on a conference call talking to 5 seasoned professionals on their way out, and they're asking me for an information transfer. Like, what questions do you have for us? They weren't going to volunteer information. They were just basically like, we're leaving next week. What do you want to know? Right. And I'm like, this is a setup.